So what's good, guys? Jonathan here, and the comment that I see the most often on the channel is... So with that said, let's check out my gear. So first off, this starts with the camera, and my weapon of choice is the Sony FS7, which I've been using for almost a year now. Now for those who are just starting to shoot video or maybe looking to get into it, the absolute last thing that I want is for you to feel intimidated by a camera like this and think if you get anything less, you're not going to be able to shoot high quality video, because that is the furthest thing from the truth. There are killer options like the A7S II, the GH4, or even something like the RX10 Mark II from Sony, which shoots 4K video for under $1,500 with a lens. For me, the reason the FS7 is perfect is because it is a dedicated video camera, and what I mean by that is it has things like built-in XLR inputs, integrated ND filters with multiple stops. It also shoots in a better codec, and then really it's just easier to access things like ISO, white balance, and that all makes for a more efficient workflow when shooting. My go-to lens and what I use in about 85% of my shots is the Rokinon 24mm T1.5. It's super sharp with an aperture that wide. That is what allows for that super shallow depth of field and that ridiculous bokeh. The other day while shooting some footage for the best tech under 100, the sun had already set, so there really wasn't much light to work with, but with this lens, I was getting some insane looking footage. My other go-to lens, and this is more of a complementary piece to the 24mm, is the Rokinon 12mm T2.2. This is what I'll use for those super epic wide shots that make the subject look massive, and it's also how I achieve that handheld look where I have the product in one hand and I'm resting the camera on me, kind of moving around, getting my perspective. It's wide enough to where even when I'm shooting handheld, I don't need any image stabilization, and results in this really cool, unique looking shot. I do also occasionally use a 16mm lens from Rokinon, but that is really for when I'm on camera, and honestly the lens that I use the least out of the three. Now if you haven't noticed yet, all those lenses have one thing in common. They are prime lenses. Zoom lenses have their place, they're easy, they're convenient, but not only do I feel primes look better, but they also force me to be more creative with the shot and really think about the shot and the composition, whereas with a zoom, I might have gotten lazy with it. Now as far as my audio setup and what you are hearing right now, this is being recorded into the Sennheiser MKH416. Now there really isn't much that needs to be said about this mic. If you go to any production or set, this is the mic because it sounds amazing. As far as what I record into, I was really big on the Sound Devices Mix Pre-D for a while, which is an absolutely amazing sounding preamp, but honestly, the pre's on the FS7 are so solid that once I got that camera, I ended up going into that most of the time. I do also use the Zoom H5 from time to time, or when I'm traveling. This has 2 XLR inputs, so I'll throw the 416 into this. And on top of that, it also features built-in mics that are interchangeable with different modules. So overall, it's just a really useful piece of gear to have. Now moving on to the big question, what video editing program do you use? This may be a surprise, but contrary to some comments, I don't use Adobe Premiere. I actually edit all my videos in Final Cut Pro 10. Regardless of whether I shoot the product or the dialogue first, I will always start with the audio edit, and that's whether I'm on camera or just straight up doing voiceover like this video. With this, I'm pretty meticulous and will sit there and make sure everything's precise and clean. And once that's done and ready to go and sounding good, then I will begin to assemble the cut. If you were wondering out there, it's usually much easier to lay B-roll over voice than vice versa. For me, if I were to lay out all the footage and then do the voiceover after and trying to match that to the video length, that would be a little unnatural for me. If it works for you, cool, but that's just how I like to work. Now for those that have been asking about that track text where the text is kind of locked off to the object where it's moving, that is done through Adobe After Effects. So the workflow we have is I'll usually pick the shots that need to be tracked, hand those off to Matt, and while I'm cutting and assembling the video, he's working on that, and then once those are done, they are placed back in Final Cut Pro 10 for the final export. Now for those curious, those graphics that we used in After Effects for this video were courtesy of Video Blocks, who specialize in stock footage, motion templates, and After Effects templates. On top of that, they also have a marketplace, so a lot of you aspiring video shooters out there that shoot video, you can submit your footage to be sold as stock footage and make 100% of the cash. They aren't taking a cent. For those interested and maybe looking to spice up their footage, you can actually try it out for free for 7 days, and all the details are linked down below. Aside from that, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did and you are feeling like being awesome, make sure to go Ronda Rousey on that like button, or maybe Holly Holm. Again, everything is linked down below. If you guys have any questions or comments, drop me a line down below, or hit me up on Twitter or Snapchat. Those are also linked below. This is Jonathan with TLD, and I will catch you guys later.